George Bruno with the 21 Convention, the European edition. We're in Warsaw, Poland, and I'm having a conversation with Mr. Ed Latimore. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you just got off stage, and we had a little talk before you went on stage, and I was really looking forward to the information. Your speech today was really data-driven, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the data. This was so interesting because what hypothesis I came into was that came in with was that you need to have some type of ability to navigate the sexual marketplace. Otherwise, there are going to be repercussions that affect you like very real, not like your emotions, but we're talking loss of life, which was, and to a second, or a lesser degree, incarceration down the line, first and second order effects, things that happen to you and things that happen to people who are connected to you. And so when I started doing research for this, I originally started just looking at the killers, the big killers who have done these shootings and their motivations, because I knew from just like what the media had reported, some of them came into it with that as their agendas, the George Sardinis, the Elliot Rodgers, the Alec Manassians. But then I dug deeper and found even more cases of these guys, and I said, okay, maybe there's something here. I mean, obviously not every incel turns into a killer, but then I dug into the second order effect, like when you are bad with women, when you don't understand how to conduct a relationship the right way, it usually leads to the termination of a relationship, whether you have children or not. So then I started to look at the statistics that were surrounding children who are out of broken homes, out of homes without fathers, and that was further eye-opening. And the conclusion that I came up with was that red pill saves lives. And we used to say it as game saves lives, but we were just talking about, the whole idea that if you can get laid, then you're not really worried about killing anybody. But I took the idea to a higher level, to a deeper level, and I wanted to just see what the data show, and it really blew my mind, man. I was surprised. There were a few times on the research for the speech, I would go and tell my girlfriend, I was like, yo, this is crazy. Did you ever hear about this guy? Scott Barrow, you hear about this guy, Chris Harper, Harper Mercer, all these names. And now, like, what's crazy is, like, these names are drilled into my head. I never knew who Mark Lapone was, right? Mm-hmm. No one ever talked about that guy. It was a pretty big shooting in Montreal in '89. He just went on the campus and decided he was going to off a bunch of women. And they all end, or not all, but most of them ended in suicide. And it was a very depressing thing, but it was also illuminating. To go, it showed me what happens when men are neglected. And neglected is probably the wrong word. I think a better word is misdirected.
Yes.
It seems like for whatever reason, and we could come up with evolutionary theories why this occurs, but it seems like women are just more adaptable, more fluid, and men aren't. And one response to that could be, oh man, you guys need to man up and figure it out. We figured it out. The other response could be like I brought up in the speech with the whole grizzly bear and working with the salmon dipped in honey reference that Patricia O'Neill brought up, which is human nature is human nature, and when you ignore it, you get a lot of consequences that you perhaps were not anticipating, and I think that's what's happening. We're trying to ignore human nature. We are treating boys like defective girls. We can see that in the ADHD ratios, our diagnostic ratios, boys to girls. We see that men are really being stripped from the home. We see that in custody award percentages, which goes to the mother, which goes to the father. And we are changing the natural order, but the natural order ain't changing. We're trying to change it, but it ain't working. And whether we want to or not, want to accept it or not, there is backlash. There's consequence, and it's going to continue this way. I don't want it to continue this way, as I always say. I hope I'm wrong, right? But we're going to continue to get backlash and consequences like this. Kids incarcerated, kids not knowing what to do. And what's crazy is I didn't even touch on the other aspect of it because my thought process was focused so much on what happens to men, given the backdrop of the convention and what the original speech was about. But I didn't even focus on what happens to women in this situation.
Yes.
And they're also huge victims because someone's got to raise them. But we know the stats about what happens when there are two parents in the home versus one, the likelihood of abuse and where it comes from. In the case of kids, a lot of times from the boyfriend of the single mother is the most likely person to commit an abuse. And we know what that does to these kids as they grow into adults. And so it's a whole chain. And if I really dwell on the chain, I had to step away from the speech a few times when I was putting it together. Because if you really draw on the chain, you see, man, the things are not looking well for society. And I didn't really mean it to be that kind of speech, but the more I think about the implications of what I found and then look at the trajectory that we're on now, I see that is more or less, that's the writing on the wall, man. No, you can ignore it, but it's the writing on the wall.
How does one make the leap from incel? And for those that are watching, incel means involuntary celibate. Basically, a guy that can't get laid. That's what that we can't, a man just can't make that. He doesn't have a sex life. He might want one, but he just doesn't have the means. How do you go from that to being a killer or acting out in a violent manner? What happens in the mind? What do you think?
Now, I preface what I say because I know this YouTube, right? I preface this with I'm not a professional, I'm merely hypothesizing. But here's what I think. I'd say the biggest, not even just the two human directives are survive and reproduce, right? And it really is probably reproduce and survive. If you have to pick one or the other, kill or have kids, you're gonna have kids.
Yeah.
All right. When you remove that, you're effectively removing a person's reason for living. Now, and the reason for existing. Now, how they respond to that, one of the things I said in the speech, I go, look, man, why don't you take the red pill? What you do after that is there are many different routes you can take, but they're all founded on the idea that you know the game now, you know the score, whether you become a player and enjoy the decline, or you go drag con and raise a good family, or you just say, I want out and go MGTOW.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of responses to understand that what's really once you see the jig is up, man, right? And I think it's that same way with the incel community. I think there's all kinds of responses to realizing, for whatever reason, and I really think they should be called woe cells, won't get laid, man. Whoa, or more involuntarily. It's not involuntary,
Yeah.
It's focusing on a thing and thinking that's the end of the world. Because you see these guys. I mean, I ain't seen one incel where I was like, yeah, man, that dude, I can see why chicks ain't messing with that dude. In fact, most of them I go, okay, I don't understand what's going on. Which means it's a personality issue. It's something that could be fixed with little work. But to the main point, back to the main idea, how's one of these guys turned into a killer? I don't think it's a big leap. I think certain guys, given that they gotta have a certain disposition, and they got to really see things as hopeless. And I can see how easy it is to go, this is a hopeless life. I have no hope of passing on my genes. That's how they see it. And they're like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Well, I guess I could kill some people, make a name for myself, be famous, you know? Because this led to me looking into other mass murderers and killers, like the Boston bomber and the Post nightclub shooter.
Yeah.
And these are, very different motivations.
Yeah.
But they're just as extreme. Like people forget that there are a lot of Muslims. Only, I mean, statistically speaking, none of them have committed murder. And what I mean by that is that the numerator is so much bigger than the denominator, right? But like that it comes out to be zero. The numerator is so much smaller than the denominator, and that it comes out to be zero.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that's the same idea, but that doesn't, but when it happens, right, it's huge, it's a big deal. And so these are small amounts of guys, but I think there are many, 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 many more guys on the fringe. And maybe they don't kill somebody. Maybe they do something wild, like you ever see that show, To Catch a Predator? Same idea. I'm looking at these guys going, okay, you can't get laid. You telling me there's no girl? Because a lot of these dudes, you know, because the whole thing, you know, they come in and Chris Hansen comes in and he's like, yo, it's Chris Hansen. And they're like, oh shit, it's Chris Hansen, right? But a lot of these guys, they're not like, I like kids, which I thought was really interesting. Because when you watch the show, you're expecting to get a bunch of perverts. Nah, a lot of them are just like, man, women, I was just happy to get some attention, this, that, or the other. And so, like, it leads to craziness. It leads to guys doing things that they wouldn't otherwise do. Now, they gotta, you know, knowing the path is different than walking it, right? If they don't want to do the work, that's one thing. But I think that part of the reason why the work is even necessary to be done is beyond their control. You know, it's hard for me sometimes to give advice on this stuff because I happen to come out the womb, you know, 6'1", black, tall, strong. I don't think I'm bad looking. Certainly not to the point where like my looks are actively working against me. You know, in other words, you know, I'm not playing with any significant disadvantages. So it's kind of hard for me sometimes to be like, all right, man, you gotta do this. At the very least, it's hard for somebody to take me seriously. That doesn't mean I'm incorrect. That doesn't mean anyone who tells you otherwise is incorrect. And there are loads of guys, you know. That's one of the cool things. That's one of the reasons I love Steve being part of the convention. It's like you look at Steve and, you know, you see a guy who's like 40, got the bald head. We were talking about this yesterday. He's like 5'7", he got a little beer belly. But he's doing great things, right? Well, what are you going to say to Steve? Right? Nothing. So we need more guys to take and this is what I talk about. I talked about the responsibility in my speech. We need more guys to take responsibility for themselves, to lead themselves, and to get rid of the term. I hate the term incel. Like I hate it because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like ain't nobody. But with the invention of prostitution, ain't nobody involuntarily celibate. Right? Now, there are people who might have what is the saying? Champagne taste and beer money. But there ain't nobody who just can't drink. You know, and these guys gotta realize that, and that's and if you want champagne, you gotta work and get champagne money. But it can all be improved, and I think that's really a bigger issue too, is that a lot of these guys, they decide that this is it and that's it, and they're not gonna do anything to make it better but bitch and complain. I said in my speech by Elliot Rodger, I'm like, this is a good looking kid in a BMW when he made his manifesto video before he shot a bunch of people, and I'm like, come on man, you telling me good looking kid in a BMW ain't gonna go buy something? You don't want to pay for it. Can't get no 5, I want 8s and 9s. Like, bro, you got, well, what is it? Like, you gonna keep inventing a reason for it to be a problem. And that's another thing. I don't want to make it seem, because I got to pick a topic to discuss in 1 hour, and I want to make a point. But make no mistake about it, there is also on the other end of it big responsibility, and that's what. And I think more than anything, that's what I talk about, the solution. I just talk about the problem. But there's a solution. The solution really is to work on yourself, to build yourself up, to understand what you need in women, to not be afraid to leave, to have a life with people around you, and to remember that your knowledge coupled with action is going to be the only way to protect yourself from the inevitable. Because we're all going to go through it, man. Ain't nobody ever got to any point of prominence if they haven't had their heart broken,
Yes.
and they feel like they've been beat down, and we all been rejected, and it's up to you to realize that that's just part of the game, but you can be more.
There's a guy out there right now who is, for lack of a better term, he's an incel. He's watching this on his mobile device, and maybe he was thinking about some radical move to make, or he's on the verge. What would you tell him?
I'd tell him that it's not first off, when you accept that you can't get it, then you're not gonna take action.
Yeah.
So I don't want you to do that. I don't
Yeah.
want you to accept anything as like you're not involuntarily celibate. You gotta
Right.
look in the mirror and be like,
Right.
you're not trying, right? And you gotta put your ego to the side. It's the hardest thing I think for a guy to do, is to put his ego to the side and go, okay, what I'm doing is clearly not working, but let's entertain the possibility that I'm broken, not
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah.
And if I can get that guy to do those two things, because it's not easy. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's easy, but if an incel was watching me right now, putting bullets into the gun, thinking about going to do something crazy, I would say, look here, bro. These people don't have anything to do with your problem. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we can do to get you laid. You ever see the 40-year-old virgin?
Yeah.
Where he's like, you know what, man, your dick is my dick from now on, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get you laid. That kind of deal. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, because sometimes guys just need a little mentorship. Like, somebody be like, look, man, you saying some really socially stupid shit right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to help, right? At the same time, let's get in the weight room, right? Because like I said, I've seen these guys. I got their faces burned into my mind now from doing the research of the speech. None of them are like, I can't get laid ugly. Like in other words, I've seen uglier guys with pretty women. Like these guys are fine. There's nothing, someone got money, right?
It's not that they can't. It's that
They
won't.
Right.
Interesting.
And that all comes down to the responsibility, the
Yeah.
leadership. Because when you really think about it, someone was talking about this in their speech, and I can't remember who, but about how back in the day, man, look, there wasn't no marriage. I mean, it was like marriage in the sense of like a thing we had to invent to keep people from losing their minds.
Yes.
But it was the strongest dude get the most chicks. You know how hard it is to be a strong guy? It's a lot easier today.
Yeah.
You ain't got to kill anybody today,
Right.
right? You don't have to win a contest today. You don't have to go off and survey the world or go on a pilgrimage for 5 years. Like, no. It's so easy. It's the easiest time ever. I mean, like we literally have apps. You see your phone, pull it out, and swipe right or left. I can't imagine. Like you think about that? Like, there are gonna be tons of kids who tell that story, or who are told that story. Like, how'd your mom and dad meet? I swipe left or swipe right. I don't even like.
Yeah.
I never used one. Not that I'm above it. I just been in a relationship longer than Tinder had been in existence, so I never got to use it.
Interesting. It's not that they can't, it's that they won't.
Yeah.
And there's hope for that guy out there.
There's always hope. I hope that I don't know how this is tagged on the internet or anything. That's beyond me. But I hope someone comes across this, and I hope they go, okay, maybe, just maybe, I'm a piece of shit. Like maybe not to that extreme, but that's like the hard. Like I said, man, that's the hardest thing for a man to do. To go, and it seems to transcend his sexual success is evident by these guys who do these things. For a man to go, you know what I'm doing is not working. Let me try another approach. Mm-hmm. Not let me throw the game. Not let me break my console. Let me start playing another game.
A man with options. Become a man with options.
Yeah.
don't feel that there's only one way out.
Exactly. You know, and a lot of these guys too, they're like, let me go and, you know, try and get the non who's a blonde. And
Yes.
It's like, man, come on, man. I'm Ed Latimore, and I'm not getting a non who's a blonde. Like, bro, you gotta work your way up.
Yeah.
You know, perhaps realize your budget is not reflective of your taste.
Yeah.
And then you can work with that. But I think a lot of it is guys are looking for a reason to justify, looking for a way to justify their laziness. Because that's what a lot of people want. They want justification. They don't want solutions, I think.
I like that. You heard it from Ed Latimore that there is hope and that you do have options and that there's more than one way out of a situation. Look within, explore. It has to do with your will. Conversation with Ed Latimore. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, George.